There is a beast waiting for you to let your guard down, to corrupt, destroy and put you at the bottom of the well, or, better said, in hell. This beast has a diabolical scheme to be put into practice at any moment, and you are part of that plan. You, in your home, will be affected, and if you do not know what this plan is and how it will be put into practice, you will be devoured. You will suffer, beg for help, you will be condemned, judged, and in the end, you will be thrown into the abyss and live an eternity of suffering. The information we will reveal in the next few minutes will open your eyes and save your life. Before we reveal all the details, just check if you are already subscribed to the channel and like the video to receive more content like this. In Christian history, it is important to remember that events happen in a planned order. Time after time, a man appears who strikes fear into all people, called the man of sin, the first beast, the man of lawlessness. As we live our daily lives and approach the end times, we realize that we are not just watching, but we are part of an epic story. We are in the last days, as the Bible warns us. It is shocking for anyone who looks at the world from a Christian perspective to realize that the world is at a crossroads. The clock of history not only keeps time, but ticks along with the fulfillment of prophecies. Each tick brings us closer to the outcome that was divinely planned. In this video, we are not talking about something imaginary, but rather about the rhythm of the clock and the passage of years towards the arrival of this man of sin, the first beast, the Antichrist. In the midst of this great story, we face something serious. What the Antichrist will do in 2024 is shocking. And this video is a clear request to think about ourselves and stay alert. It is a call to Christians around the world: keep an eye out, be sober and vigilant. In the midst of the uncertainties of the future, each TikTok reminds us to pay attention to the signs that are happening. What is in store for 2024 may be scary, but may it motivate us to seek the truth, strengthen our faith and remain steadfast on our spiritual journey. Today, the sermon is important for two reasons. First, it warns us about the real presence of the spirit of Antichrist in our world. Second, it shows us how this spirit is preparing the ground for important events in 2024. We are living at a pivotal moment in history, where things are complicated and deceptive. The Apostle John, in his writings in the Bible, gives us a basis for understanding this. Let's analyze some excerpts from the teachings left by John. The Apostle John talks about the Antichrist in his epistles in the Bible, especially in the letters known as 1 John and 2 John. He warns about the presence of the spirit of the Antichrist and highlights the importance of recognizing it. In 1 John 2 verse 18, John says, "Little children, this is the last hour, and as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, even so many Antichrists have arisen, therefore we know that it is the last hour." In 1 John 4 verse 3, John emphasizes the nature of the spirit of Antichrist, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not of God, but it is the spirit of Antichrist, about whom you have heard that he is coming, and now it's already in the world. He highlights that the spirit of Antichrist manifests itself in the rejection of Jesus as the Messiah and does not come from God. John says that any spirit that does not accept Jesus does not come from God, and that is the spirit of the Antichrist. This is not just a future threat, but something that is already actively influencing our societies, including the media and local communities. John also warns us that we live in the last hour and that many antichrists have already appeared. This shows us that we are at a critical moment. It is important to understand the spirit of the Antichrist to identify its manifestations rather than focusing on just one person. Observing the increase in evil, moral decay, and deceit helps us see the signs of our time. This highlights the need to stay spiritually alert and discerning in these critical moments. In 2024, we face an important historical situation, and understanding this will help us find light in the midst of the ominous shadows. In 2024, the Antichrist will continue doing bad things, as he has been doing for a while, as the Apostle John said. However, today, we not only want to talk about what this being will do, but also about what we, who we believe in God, we need to think. Let's talk about how confusion in politics influences prophecies. Today's world is full of fights and political problems, and this is no coincidence. This is an important part of what was predicted in the prophecies. This whole mess creates the right environment for the Antichrist to appear. As we get closer to that moment, the world will look more and more like the one we live in today, lots of division and a strong desire for peace. This desire for peace is something that is felt all over the world, which is full of countries at war and people fighting. These conditions we see now are exactly what could pave the way for the Antichrist, as prophesied. He will appear as someone who brings a peace that seems good, but is actually deceptive, as it is written in Daniel 8 verse 25, which says, "He will cause deception to prosper and consider himself superior. When they feel safe, he will destroy many and stand against the Prince of Princes. However, he will be destroyed, but not by human power." This passage from the Bible shows us that the Antichrist will use peace as a cover to do bad things. He will destroy many people, he will rise up against important figures, but, in the end, he will be defeated without anyone's help. This story highlights how important it is to be careful not to be deceived by beautiful appearances, and to prepare ourselves to face the challenges that are coming. Many times in our lives we are tired by all the problems and challenges we have to deal with at home, in our relationships, at work, or anywhere. I mean, life has a lot of good things, but it's also full of problems. This is a natural duality of existence, and this tension can create stronger or weaker people. And the last of them always looks for an easier way. Now imagine an entire generation of weak people accustomed to running away from their problems, not facing harsh and universal truths, submissive on social networks and the crazy things that are passed there as the pattern to follow, adherents to relativism, who ignore dogmas of their religions, which always outsource blame, which claim to follow Jesus but don't even read the Bible to know what teachings he left behind. The list is almost endless, to be honest. What I want you to do is imagine these types of people faced with a friendly, charismatic leader, who promises peace in the midst of war in exchange for the renunciation of their religious dogmas and principles, who will not only authorize but encourage the lives of sins that seem much more attractive than a righteous life. And what's more, it will persecute you and torment you if you don't accept it. Given all this, what do you think will happen? Even though we know that the Antichrist will be defeated, in the end, it's important to think about what you would do in the face of a diabolical man like this. Reflect on this for a few minutes during your day. It's very easy to talk about what God told us about the Antichrist, or see the prophecies that point to his arrival, but, my brother, when the time comes it will be you, him, and God. Who would you choose? In the Bible, in 1 Thessalonians 5-3, we have an intriguing warning about the Antichrist. In this excerpt we can understand that he will show himself as someone peaceful, talking about peace and security, but this is just a facade. See what Paul says. "For you yourselves know with certainty that the day of the Lord is coming like a thief in the night, when people say, 'Peace and safety,' then sudden destruction will come upon them, like birth pains to a pregnant woman, and they will not escape." In this verse, Paul warns about the danger of deceiving oneself with false messages of peace and security, as a moment of sudden destruction will come. The comparison with labor pains highlights the intensity and inevitability of this sudden event. This passage is related to the eschatological theme, about the end of times, that Paul addresses in his letters, warning Christians about the events that precede the return of Jesus Christ. Paul, in the same passage, talks about the day of the Lord, which is when God will judge the world that does not believe in him. This day comes after the rapture, which is when Christ's followers are taken away, leaving the earth. The description of this day is frightening, comparing it to birth pains, showing that, during the tribulation, a difficult period after the rapture, those who do not believe will think that everything is fine, but in fact, it is not. In Daniel 9 verse 27, the Bible mentions a peace agreement, but this agreement, made by the Antichrist, will be broken in the middle of the tribulation. In this excerpt we read, "And he will make a covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of the week he will make the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and on the wing of abominations will come the desolate, and that until the consummation, and what is determined will be poured out on the devastating." This fits with the idea that, at the beginning of the day of the Lord, Israel will feel that they are safe, but this calm will be broken as the events of the tribulation unfold. So the message is that the Antichrist will try to deceive people, appearing peaceful at first, but later revealing himself to be someone destructive. The Bible warns us about this, showing that we need to be careful and understand spiritual things so as not to be deceived. According to the verses we are analyzing, the Antichrist will appear as a leader who brings peace to the world. He will be charismatic and promise to solve the global problems that exist. People will believe him because they really want peace. I'm not saying this will happen in 2024, I have no way of knowing. I just want us to think about how important it is to have peace in the world, looking at what the Bible says about the Antichrist being a peacemaker. If one day everyone follows this leader, it will show that people were deceived by him. The question is how he will be able to unite everyone, be accepted everywhere, and bring the much desired peace. Imagine people putting aside their differences, abandoning their beliefs, and even using symbols to show loyalty to this leader. It's kind of strange to think that, at some point, everyone in the world will agree to follow just one person, forgetting about the fights and confusion. It's as if this leader is incredible, doing extraordinary things, even bringing peace in a complicated region like the Middle East, between Israel and its neighbors. The big question is when this will happen again in history, when nations will unite under the command of a charismatic person. History has had moments like this, with leaders who manage to cross cultural barriers and resolve conflicts. It's a mystery to understand how this could happen, but it's something we've seen before in history. The Bible points us to the moment of this crucial event, revealing in Revelation 13 a truth that we often underestimate: the immense supernatural deception that will accompany the ascension of the Antichrist. What he will achieve goes beyond the natural. It will not be an ordinary achievement. It is important to note that he will not be alone on this journey, as his power comes from what is called the dragon, being propelled through the gates of hell itself, as predicted in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3. When they proclaim peace and security, sudden destruction will come upon them, like labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and there will be no escape. The false security offered by the Antichrist will result in even greater destruction, marked by oppression and deception during his reign. A second aspect worthy of attention is the eyes of the beast. This does not just refer to physical eyes, but rather to the global surveillance and control exercised by the Antichrist. The advancement of technology, especially in artificial intelligence, AI, facial recognition, and global tracking systems, is profoundly transforming the world. While these innovations promise efficiency, it is important to note that they also carry with them tools with the potential for control and surveillance, which could be used in the quest for Antichrist dominance. This is a dynamic panorama that deserves our attention and reflection. Never before in the history of humanity has it been so easy to use artificial intelligence. Previously, artificial intelligence was a thing for scientists, but now it is an important part of our modern lives. These intelligent systems can handle a lot of information and are very useful for predicting things in the economy, healthcare, and more. But it has a complicated side. The same power that helps artificial intelligence detect disease or improve traffic can be used to keep an eye on people's lives and predict what they will do. It's as if artificial intelligence were an eye that sees and understands what billions of people are doing. Facial recognition is an example of this. It can be good because it makes identity verification easier without needing passwords. But when used to monitor people on the street, it can track and identify individuals, even recognizing how someone walks, something called gait recognition. Gait recognition is a form of identification that analyzes how each person walks using advanced technology. She observes each person's movements, body shapes, and ways of walking. This can be useful for security, but at the same time it is scary because it transforms how we are identified from afar. In 2024, it's important to keep an eye on technology that can be used by the Antichrist to strengthen his frightening system. We now come to the third and final crucial point that deserves our attention: the normalization of sin and rebellion against the divine order. Understanding this aspect is crucial to understanding how the spirit of Antichrist operates, preparing the ground for his deception. As we approach 2024, a transformation in society is evident, raising serious concerns about behaviors and attitudes that were once considered sinful or morally questionable, but are now becoming increasingly accepted as normal. This change is not simply a social evolution, it is essentially a strategy by the spirit of Antichrist to undermine the foundations of divine principles and biblical teachings. The normalization of sin manifests itself in many ways, from the media we consume to the laws and policies that are enacted. Culture often glorifies lifestyles and choices that directly contradict biblical teachings, subtly influencing public opinion. Bystanders, often insensitive to the laws of sin and social norms, are increasingly moving away from biblical values, going so far as to promote and even celebrate actions that Scripture explicitly condemns. This widespread acceptance of sin, under the guise of progress and enlightenment, is a mark of the Antichrist's influence. Furthermore, this normalization extends to a general rebellion against the divine order established in the contours of a way of life and a moral code intended for our well-being and spiritual health. However, under the guise of freedom and personal rights, we observe a growing tendency to reject this divine order. The idea of making sin and rebellion seem normal goes beyond just changing social rules. The objective is to make people trust human wisdom more than God, gradually confusing what is right and wrong. When we do bad things, such as lying, being greedy, seeking too many pleasures and acting unfairly, we run the risk of losing our reason for living and moving away from the path that connects us to God. This separation can leave us with an emptiness inside us, without a clear purpose. It is important to understand that following this path of rebellion can lead us to a confusing situation, where it is difficult to distinguish between what is right and wrong. This confusion leads us to look for meaning in things that satisfy us momentarily, often guided by selfish desires. Furthermore, normalizing sin and rebellion affects the unity of society. As moral rules are forgotten, trust between people weakens, dividing society into groups with different values. This can lead to conflicts and separations, damaging the harmony that is important for everyone's well-being. Therefore, it is crucial to resist this idea of making sin common. By cultivating a strong moral conscience and seeking a deeper connection with important principles, we can meet the challenges of this time of moral confusion and build a society based on truth, justice, and mutual respect. And that's what the Antichrist will try to stop you from doing. This is because the Antichrist will cause great disappointment by making people stop recognizing what is wrong. This creates an environment where he can make false promises and give misleading solutions. This is scheduled to happen in 2024, according to what the Bible says about the end of the world. The Antichrist will try to make people think it is normal to do wrong things, preparing the world for important events that are predicted to happen in the future. It is very important that you, who believe in the Bible, realize and face this situation. We need to stay strong in our faith and follow the principles of the Bible, even when the world around us is moving away from those principles. The Antichrist will try to confuse people, making them no longer recognize what sin is. This can make things very difficult for Bible believers. Therefore, it is important that people remain alert and study the Bible to better understand what is happening. It is necessary to resist the temptations and deceptions of the Antichrist in order not to lose faith. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. If you liked the video and learned something, share it in the comments. Together, we will grow a community of people who are tired of being lied to and want to know the truth. Remember to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos.